So speaking of that gimbal was the first segment of Karaminder's Rocks, a recurring segment where Karaminder talks about the latest piece of gear that he really likes. And if you could infer from the title of the segment what I meant by Karaminder's Rocks, and because he makes him very happy.
Because he rocks my socks off, Jared. That's how it works. That's what it means.
So, like, Karaminder, what is your newest Karaminder's Rocks item?
It's actually not a new item, meaning I actually bought it used, and it's been out for a couple years now, a few years now. It's a lens, and I'm gonna try and show the.
So you're gonna have to wait and see the video of this if you want to see what Karaminder's doing, but he's showing us it now.
It's basically a Leica 35mm Sumilux f1.4 lens. It's the latest version with the floating lens element, aka FLE. I'm really excited. I've always been a 50 guy. Always been a 50 guy. I have a 50 for my medium format. I've always been shooting 50 on my Leica, and I've always just wanted to get a little bit wider. And finally, I bought. This is actually the first widest lens I bought, 35mm. I want to get 28, but 35 will be with me as I go through my travels in India. So this is, I guess, another announcement.
Yeah, segue alert.
Segue. I will be leaving actually tomorrow evening, which is be Saturday evening, for a month to India, in the little city of Chandigarh, in the northern state of Punjab. And what's also nice is, so not only would I be shooting stills with my 35, I'll have other lenses too, but I'll be using my 35 a lot. Panasonic was gracious enough to let me also shoot some video with their new Panasonic LX100, which I actually wrote an article about this on F-Stoppers because this really rocked my socks off back then, but I never got a chance to put my hands on it. And basically what it is, it's 4K recording in your pocket. I mean, I don't have a pocket this big, because if it did,
pocket as in, like, you know, like
pants.
the idea of a pocket. It's small.
Maybe a jacket pocket, perhaps, but just it's not that compact. But it is still one-handable, and unfortunately, it doesn't have a mic input. But that's kind of sucks. But I'm gonna rig up a little Zoom H1 with a stereo video mic pro that I'm borrowing from Jaren. Thank you very much, Jaren. Let me borrow your mic, and I will get hopefully some beautiful 4K footage that I can edit and we can make into a story. And then I'll also give you a review when I get back in a month.
So we shot down in LA, as mentioned before, for the Resource Magazine's next cover shoot, the BTS video, which I'm working on right now editing. The main hero shot that I used for the interview with the photographer, Natalie Brazington, is a Leica lens. And Karaminder was like laughing maniacally to himself because he knows he ruined me. Because this is one of the absolute nicest lenses that has ever been on any camera I've ever used. And I'm looking at the footage, and I can't believe how good it looks.
Well, let's tell them what lens it is. It was a Leica 50mm Sumilux, my kind of everyday lens, mounted on a GH4, which gives you about a 2x crop, or like,
yeah, it's about.
Well, I guess when you're in 4K, it's like 2.3 crop. I'm not really sure.
It was pretty zoomed, but it wasn't horrible. It looks good. I'm actually going to zoom in a bit more out of the 4K when I export to 1080. It's going to be a little closer than true. But this 35 you bought is just the wider version, the wider brother to the lens that I was using. Essentially, yeah, it is considered to be, and we are going to test this. It is considered to be the best 35mm lens in the world. It's not as aprochromatic as the 50mm, meaning, you know, when you have bright highlights with high contrast, you might get a little purple fringing. I've definitely seen it in a couple shots, but it's on the 50mm, it's barely doesn't exist, and usually you have to have a lens that says Apple on it, APO, to not have that show up. Yeah. You mentioned getting a couple 35s together to see which one is truly king of the hill, and we're going to do that. So I have what a lot of people presently consider to be king of the hill when it comes to photography right now, which is the Sigma 35 f1.4. We're going to take that and we're going to put it up against. I already know it crushes the Canon, so we'll get a Canon anyway though. But we just to look at it, their 35. I think it's a 1. Is it a 1.2 or is it a 1.4? I can't remember. The L is a 1.4. Ooh. It might be a 1.2. I can't remember. I know the 85 is a 1.2, so we'll see. Yeah, the 85 is 1.2. The 50 is 1.2. The 35 I think is a
Oh, I don't know. I think it's a 1.4. I'm not a Canon shooter.
Neither I used to be. I don't shoot as much Canon as I used to. But anyway, we'll get it. You know which one we're talking about, the L series.
Yeah.
We'll
get the 35L.
We'll also get a Nikon. We're gonna get a Nikon 35 prime.
Yeah, Nikkor glass.
And I'm curious because I also have a vintage actually, like, I think Nikon made a switch to a different mount in their film cameras, and that mount carried over into their digitals. But this is pre that. It's for their F cameras, and I have a Nikon that I have converted to a Canon mount, and we can look at that as well to see what the new Nikon compares to the old Nikon, compares to the new Leica, compares to the Canon, compares to the Sigma.
That's a lot. We're gonna distill it down for you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, even for me, that was a bit complicated. But we will break that down.
Because the last time I did this test, it was a no contest, hands down win by Sigma, but I didn't have the Leica in there, and
right.
Maybe does Zeiss or Schneider make them too? We could get those. We could see if we can.
I would hope. I think like a Zeiss Otis.
Yeah.
I think they only make a 55-ish, and we'll have to do some research, guys. We clearly do not shoot.
Yeah,
these lenses,
we'll pull in everything that we can.
If they make one, we'll grab one.
Yeah, and we'll see what wins. Now, I want to do a test in what wins in 4K video and what wins in stills. So we'll do what we can. The comparison of Nikon, like, you think, Karaminder, you buy into the whole lenses are made specifically for the sensors thing.
I do, and that's the one thing I was going to bring up during our testing, which is that I do believe that lenses and a sensor design are kind of mated, because, like, I'm going to use Leica as an example because I know them so well. Peter Karb is the designer of the current generation of Leica lenses that work extremely well on digital sensors. And before him was a gentleman named Walter Mandler, and he designed all these fantastic lenses, like the original Noctilux, which was an f1.2 lens, and it's kind of considered in the community that the Mandler designed lenses are fantastic for film, and that the Karb designed lenses are fantastic for sensors.
Okay. So, see, I don't put that much thought into it. I pick up a lens and I think these optics should work everywhere. So, I don't know. I don't have the education on this that you do, Karaminder.
Neither do I. Well, I don't have enough education. This is what I've read and gathered. But I know for a fact that at least when you shoot wider angle lenses, I think wider than 35, we're talking maybe 28, 24, 21 millimeter lenses on a Sony A7S, which is full frame, which you can mount like a glass too. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually really excited about the A7 II, because it has in-body image stabilization. This is basically, I can use my lenses image stabilized, which is fantastic. Only negative thing is the way the light rays hit the sensor from a wide angle lens means that on a Sony A7 you'll have like blues on one side or pinks on the other. You just have like a kind of a little bit of a color shift on both left and right sides of the frame, and I believe that has to do with the way the light hits the sensor. And on say a Leica sensor, the way they got around that is that they had developed these kind of Leica, like glass light sights or photo sights, that just the deeper wells in the new M than they did in the M9, and supposedly, and it just works well. And I'm sure there's also a little bit of firmware sensor correction, like how much to correct. And
this gets me to ask the question then. So Panasonic and Leica are partnered in digital for Panasonics, right? They have a good relationship, and the Leica converter that you have for Micro Four Thirds is made by Leica or Panasonic?
It's made by Panasonic.
Okay, so but they work with Leica, knowing that you plan to mount a nice Leica lens on a Micro Four Thirds camera. So like that to me is kind of like, so it's not paired with the sensor specifically.
Nope.
So why is it still so amazing? So that leads me to ask the question, like, is it really paired with the sensor? Is it really doing that much more?
I think it's one of those things, Jaron, where it's like that pixel peeping last 10 or 5% of an image, whether it be like, I'm trying to give a good example. I guess I think of it more like you shoot GH4 4K video, you record straight to camera, into camera, which is an 8-bit image, right? And if you can,
I can export to 10, right? If I go to a Shogun or something.
Yeah, if you go the HDMI out, set the GH4 and say, hey, I'm going to spit out 10-bit over the external HDMI, then you record it into an external recorder like an Atomos Shogun. anything like that, then you can record in a much higher color, like more colors are available to you in 10-bit versus 8-bit. And to me, whenever I see the differences between an 8-bit video footage from the GH4 and a 10-bit video footage from the GH4 recorded externally, there is just no difference. The 10-bit blows the 8K out of the water, and it looks fantastic. Like, I don't really have a video.
So what you're saying is, I think you said something a little bit. So you're saying is, when you look at 10-bit video, it looks incredibly better than 8-bit video.
Yes, at least for me, I can definitely easily tell.
I need to do this. I really haven't been able. I haven't looked at a comparison side by side before.
Jaron, I'm going to tell you right now, maybe you shouldn't, because once you do, you will be like, no, I have to record it externally. Everything.
That's what I'm a little bit afraid of.
You're going to be like, I need a Leica lens to record with, and then I need an external recorder, and then we're good.
Yeah.
And then like footage will look
Then I can no longer run and gun. Then I have to like lock down,
No, you don't.
get a cage,
Yes.
get like a whole tripod set up. I might
be like, this aerial view is not doing it for me. Get the helicopter. Call in the Apache. No, but I think what it is, though, is like, I know that I can slap any Leica lens on my M and it works great. It works fantastic. And that I know you can adapt lenses. And I would wonder, I always see these comparisons about, even Canon FD glass versus Canon L glass. And I've seen examples where the FD looks just that little bit more sharper, but because you can't mount an FD lens on your current Canon, I think they must have done these tests on another body. I don't know which one. But I do imagine that because a lens can also change the slight color of a scene, and we know that Canon sensors are great for skin tone. Nikon sensors are great for, say, landscape, or at least the software is engineered to read the color off the sensor. And so I also do believe that I've seen different lenses put onto different cameras, and I also see that, this lens is a little bit warmer and this lens is a little bit cooler. And so I'm sure all of that is taken into consideration when it comes to designing someone who's going to design a new lens for a sensor, and what is the result that we want it to look like, because these are lens designers out there. Unfortunately, we don't know any names of Canon or lens designers,
and I don't even know who designs Sigmas. I just know the president of Sigma, who is like overseeing the whole change in the company, and that's Kazuto-san.
We should ask these questions, because it's very commonplace. We can say this is a Mandler era Leica lens. This is a Carb era modern Leica lens.
Leica might be the only company that really puts a lot of stock in that, because they hand make every lens, and I don't know that anyone else does that. Right?
Yes.
Right? It's kind of like they take it to a level of like Swiss watchmaking.
Oh, they definitely do. And they have videos to show for it. So I'll put one, I'll send a video to you, Jaron, and we'll put that in the show notes so that way you can see an example of this nice little video of a Leica lens being built, handmade, and actually really nice music too. I actually really like the music of that video.
And I'll take a look at it, and everyone else can too. But that kind of is the idea of what we want to do is really do a proper king crowning here of 35, and then after that maybe we'll do the 50.